Shooter standby.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Hey folks, welcome to Eye on the Target Radio with Rob and Amanda.
It just seemed like nothing was happening or something. I don't know.
There was nothing happening?
You needed more fanfare to get started.
This is the same fanfare that we always have. I need more fanfare, or our voiceover guy.
I don't know, it just seemed like blah when it went out.
You, the king of blah. Right? Rob is one level of... There we go.
That's better.
That's better. Thank you. Thanks. So Rob is so laid back. For him to say it's blah is like, okay, I'm going to just have to stab him with my pencil and move on from there.
That'll liven it up.
That was just a little bit. So this past, I was going to say this past weekend, but it was really just yesterday.
Right.
Yesterday.
Currently.
What's that?
Currently,
yesterday, this past weekend, we went to the Ohio Gun Collectors, OGCA, Ohio Gun Collectors Association show.
But we've been members for a long time, but it's basically a private show. You have to be a member to get in, or know a member to get an invite to come in, and then.
Yeah, so it's by invitation only, and they have to vouch for you that you were a moral and upstanding and not a doofus with a gun.
There's some hoop jumping to get in, but then you can go. It's about every 2 months they have a show, pretty big, down near Cincinnati.
Well, and when he says pretty big, we drove 3 hours to get to the show. We walked 6 hours at the show. We didn't lollygag around anywhere, and then we drove 3 hours back. So,
but you have to write a map if you see something you want, so you know how to get back to it. Or
there really is.
Your best bet is just to buy it, and then there we have to try to find it again,
and then go from there. So it was there was a spot where I looked at something and I looked at it so hard that I was like, okay, I'm gonna memorize this spot. It was between rows M and O, and at the end, and when I go back, if it's really still calling my name, I'm gonna have to take it home with me. And gratefully, my wallet said, "What are we doing?" And my feet said, "We're not going back." So that was sort of where that all went.
So we went down. We got to meet some old friends. We haven't been to the show in quite a few years. So they come in. Well, the one you was talking was from North Dakota. So
right. So there was a North Dakota.
It's Ohio Gun Collectors, but this guy drove all the way from North Dakota so he could show his
another
guns.
One came from North Carolina.
Right. So they come from all over. It's a pretty big deal. They show at NRA conventions and stuff like this. So there's a lot of them, a lot of different members in there.
In the thing. And we're actually going to talk in the history section about something that we saw there, because it brought me to a complete stop and said, golly, I've never seen anything like that.
The thing is, you go there, these guys, this isn't a regular gun show like you go to the local whatever.
This isn't like buttons and badges and military uniforms.
These are real collectors. So, I mean, this guy maybe has 75 1911 pistols he's going to show you, and they were built in 1910, 1911, 1912. And you can own one for $7,000 or $8,000 or $9,000, depending on which one you choose or whatever. These are not the best ones, because he kept the best ones at home in his collection. But these are good, some really prime pieces that you're not going to just find on the street any old place.
Right.
And
the amazing thing, honestly, of a gun show of this caliber is that if you go there and you ask good questions, knowledgeable questions, not jerky questions, but good, I've got something and I want to know about it.
They're willing to take the time to show you, and they'll take their gun apart to show you what to look for, what marks you're looking for, and and everything. If you got something that you brought with you, a lot of times they'll tell you if it's right or wrong, or why it's right or wrong, or if somebody's changed something. Some of these guys are so good at what they do. I mean, 1911s is kind of funny because the military grips just are diamond pattern. There's no markings on them, but they know by how many diamond points between the bolt holes are as to who manufactured those grips at that time.
They can tell by the size of the diamonds, and it's whether it's whether there's 11 or there's 12 or there's 13.
Right. So it's funny on all that stuff. I mean, there's really a lot of every different thing, whether it's a Winchester 22 rifles or something. Somebody specializes in something there. We found a guy had a box of bullet molds. It's like all I could do to stay away from it.
Oh no, he didn't stay away from it. He dug.
I didn't buy them, but I found two that I should have bought.
And you walked away.
Now I'm kicking myself, but I should have bought those.
You should have bought both of those. That one was very, very weird. So if you guys visualize a handheld bullet mold, so it's got
normally
two
there's
handles.
3 pieces. You have 2 halves and a sprue plate on top, and this one had 2 halves with a sprue. Had a plate on the bottom that actually was hinged so it could open when the plate's open.
It didn't follow either one of the 2 halves. It kind of separated.
And it had 2 bars that come up inside to block how big a bullet you wanted to make. So you could set the depth on those to make the bullets bigger or smaller. And it looked like it made 45 caliber discs. Probably it was set for about 1/4 inch thick, but you could.
So it was set for 1/4 inch thick. The man said that it was set to make 45 caliber hollow points in whatever thickness you wanted to make them. So that the hollow was the down.
Yeah, and it looked more like you took and stacked. You could make these and stack 3 or 4 of them in a 45 Colt case and
I don't know. It was
shoot them kind of like those old Winchester PX1s and stuff.
You really should have bought that because you would have played with it in the car the whole way home.
It's like she says, "Oh, you would have done anything anyhow." I'm like, I would have cast 100 of them just to play with them, and then I would have put them back in the dresser and never looked at it again. But at least I owned it.
You'd have played with this and you played with that, so you've gotten that entertainment for both of those. But I'm not sure that it was $75 worth of entertainment that you would have used for your day.
Well, the thing is the mold, and it came with a set of handles. So if you're in the casting, the handles are usually separate. So I mean, $75 was actually a very good price on that because the handles would have been about $50 normally, and then the mold probably would have been $100 mold. And it's just.
Why did you let it walk away?
Because it's one of them things I really need it like another hole in my head.
There's a whole lot of that.
But it's there's stuff between what I need and what I want, and it's like I already have a suitcase that I carry my bullet molds in now.
Right. there really is.
I did buy a mini mold, a 58 caliber mini ball mold that was. Nice and calling my name.
So are we going to be shooting that, or are you just making those?
Yeah, it fits that fits my 2-band infield. So
okay, we'll make use of that. There. It's just when you walk through a show like that, I wanted to, and it's rude to do, but I really wanted to pull my camera out and take this picture so I could remember to talk about it and take this picture and remember to talk about it.
Is how much stuff when you go through there, it's like. Most people that are walking past have no idea what any of it even is, and
I know.
So I mean, you're like, what is this? Or talk about that, or show me this.
Yeah, there was a couple spots where I would walk to something, and it was like, I haven't seen this before. Talk to me about this, and the guy behind the table would look at him, and Rob would start talking to me about it, and sometimes they would join in, and sometimes they just look at Rob. Right.
But, one was a little simplex automatic pistol that she was looking at. It was probably 1900, 1905 era. Had a little straight magazine that goes in the front. The magazine wasn't in the box with the thing, but it was neat. I says, and even prior to that, earlier than that, was ones that had like a little sliding door that you laid the bullets in and then slid the door back shut, and it shot bullets. And some of those, the real early stuff, figuring automatic pistols started being sold to the general public about 1893. Some of that very early stuff didn't have extractor grooves in the bullets. They just figured that when it fired, it would blow that old one out of its way and put a new one in place.
Maybe it would.
And
maybe it wouldn't.
But that one that had the sliding door, it was a 5mm Bergman, and it would have had basically a pointed bullet that it was like a cone-shaped case. and shot a 5mm bullet, which is only like 200,000, so smaller than a 22.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wouldn't have had an extractor group, so there's no way if it didn't fire, you have to use a rod to knock that bullet out of the thing.
You're out of the fight. You are.
It's kind of funny, even in the volcanics era, they didn't put extractor pieces on them. So when they were working with a lever gun at the beginning, it was the same way. There was no extractor. That must have been like a last thing. Like, oh, well, maybe we might need to eject a bullet that doesn't work. Or,
I would think that it was periodically they were like driving this out, going, if we are in a spot where I need to fire at two people, this may not be a good idea. Let's think this over.
If it shot, then it was fine. If it didn't shoot, then that's when the trouble started.
Right. So there was a little bit of that. When we come back, we are going to talk about this gun that I saw that brought me to a stop, had made the guy get out of his chair to come talk to me, and then Rob came, and so it was a good group conversation. You'll love it.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a Rangemaster certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
So the gun that I saw at the Ohio Gun Collectors Show was actually an Evans Thunderbolt, and it was just so unique. And there was a variety of reasons why it was unique. But if you are watching via video, the gun, we've brought the video, the picture up, because the thing that brought me to a stop is that the stock, the buttstock, is actually two pieces that are made to fit around a tube.
If you took the buttstock off, it's a solid steel gun from butt plate to muzzle.
It really is.
It's all metal, and then they just put these two pieces of buttstock together
for decoration.
Give it the look of a genuine rifle.
Right.
And then you got it's solid and warm feeling on your cheek instead of the metal. And it doesn't rust as easily.
And so when you really looked at it, it has a tube that goes from the butt plate, and the butt plate was case hardened, so color case hardened, so it was beautiful. And
it had a little trap door in it to load. And the thing has 4 tubes inside that main tube going up through there, and it holds 34 bullets in there. So
it was amazing, and it was built in the 1870s.
Right, it was built to compete with the Winchester 1873, and it was built by a dentist in Maine.
Yes, he was Mechanic Falls, Maine.
I believe it's the only firearm that was built in mass quantities in Maine. And then the first ones used a 1-inch bullet, which had ballistics of almost comparable to the 45 automatic. So about 220 grain bullet at 850 feet a second. The later model, they built had an 1.5-inch long case, and so that used that had a little more bullet weight, 280 grain bullet, and then also a little more powder, so that it took it up to about 1,200 foot a second. So on par with 44 Magnum loads. So not too shabby for the time period.
It was amazing. So this Evans Thunderbolt had a price tag, and I don't remember exactly what the price tag was. It was somewhere between $15,000 and $16,500. And the reason that I don't remember was because every time I stopped to look at pretty, they were in that ballpark. So I was somewhere between 15 and 16.5 pretty much all day.
When you pull your pistol out and somebody says, "How much does that cost you?" and tell them it was $850, they start freaking out about it. But you're looking at an old gun you can't get bullets for $15,000.
Oh, it stopped me. The thing that was amazing to me.
The case hardening on this rifle was beautiful. So it had to sit in the dark somewhere, because the sun will actually bleach the color case hardening away from it.
So it didn't see light. It wasn't in something that shifted or moved, because it didn't have any rubber wear on either side of it, like you would get from a drawer or something like that. The wood was pristine, and these two pieces of wood, you've got to think about the fact that they were hollowed out, half of a butt plate hollowed out to envelop this tube. And no, there wasn't a scratch, there wasn't a chip, there wasn't a dent.
Right, they must have brought that rifle home in the box, put it in the closet, and closed the door, and that was the last anybody looked at it. And laid it on
the closet shelf. They didn't even lean it on in the closet, because if they'd have leaned it in the closet, then that actually shows up over time as the whole gun will slightly sag or bend.
But it's just funny that it was in perfect condition. But again, for that kind of money, you have to be very serious about collecting your Evans Thunderbolts.
It was.
They made about 15,000 of these overall, and they're actually pretty popular. You can find them. You won't find them in that new in-box condition like that.
Yeah.
But you'll find them, and some of them are pretty nice. Some of them are pretty played out, depending on who had them and what they were doing with them.
And this one just brought me to a stop, and I just was. And
they said Winchester factory loaded ammo for that into the 1920s. So the shorts and longs for the Evans 44.
So people shot their Evans Thunderbolt from the 1870s until the
1920 sometime.
Okay.
The big thing, a lot of old guns like that, when World War I was on, sometimes they would stop manufacturing stuff, and then when World War II was starting to tool up, instead of keep making some of the obscure ammo that wasn't selling a lot, they just decided this was a good time to stop. And
I'm not going back, because when they came back and people were ordering stuff, there wasn't an order placed for bullets for an Evans Thunderbolt.
Right, or 5650 sharps or something like that. So
it was amazing. I mean, so I think that one of the things about that gun is when you looked at it, you could just see American ingenuity. You could see craftsmanship.
Well, when we were walking through there, those guys had some nice old, 1900 era Colt new pocket police and stuff like this. So new police, new pocket positives and stuff like this. Some of them in their original cardboard box with all the paperwork and that, the gun looked like it was made yesterday. Doesn't look like it was built in 1907 or something. It's amazing that there's that many old new guns out there
that people have taken care of, because they're metal, and so much of us don't take good care of.
Well, a lot of it, they just put them in a drawer somewhere, right, in their desk or in their underwear drawer or whatever, and they just sit there for all of a sudden a couple of weeks, turns into 75 years, and
imagine where did I put that?
Go to decide to throw that dresser out and think, oh, there's a pistol in here.
Look at that. Something like that. Not quite something.
It happens more than you would expect.
Maybe, and it's that thing where Dad had something, and where did he have it?
Right.
And what?
Well, a lot of times it was locked in the top drawer of his desk or something, so the kids couldn't play with it or whatever. Right. And then too, sometimes he had a box of bullets. Sometimes they never had any bullets for it, so that's why it never got shot.
And it wasn't a threat to anybody because I never had any bullets, so I got it. I went to the gun shop one time with your cousin Ernie, and he bought one, so I bought one, and that was
a lot of times that's how it happens. So I was like, it looked like a good idea at the time, but I just never had a use for it after I brought it home.
I brought it home.
How many times I know people went hunting one time. They went and bought a new shotgun, rubber boots, all the stuff. Went out one time and said that was enough for me.
That's not my thing, right? That is absolutely not. So, and you can see that where it's like, okay, I gave it a try. And then I'm not. Hey, when we come back, we're going to have Rob Morse from Self Defense Gun Stories as our guest.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com. Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolcool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, krmaradio.com.
This is Dan Perkins with your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day. If you're a veteran with a disability, are you interested in a program that could give you a free home? Homes for Our Troops is a privately funded 501c3 nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post-9/11 veterans to enable them to rebuild their lives. These homes restore some of the freedom and independence our veterans sacrificed while defending our country and enable them to focus on their family and recovery. Since its inception in 2004, nearly 90 cents of every dollar has gone directly to the program to serve veterans. HFOT builds these homes where the veterans choose to live and continues its relationship with the veterans after the home delivery to assist them in rebuilding their lives. For more information, go to their website, www.hfotusa.org, and see if you can qualify for the home of your dreams. This has been your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day.
So we are back. So Paul, our producer, our video producer, is trying to entertain Rob as best he can. So don't bother, Paul, because
you guys are gonna end up putting one of them electric shock collars on me so that I get excited.
That would be a way better idea. That would be a way better idea. So we're gonna go into the section of the show where we have a guest, and today's guest is Rob Morse from Self-Defense Gun Stories. So Rob is a writer, he's a blogger, he's kind of everywhere. He's like a training junkie. He just is all over the place, but his self-defense gun stories are in the top of all the podcasts that are listened to just across the world. And it's always great to have Rob on the show. Hey, Rob Morse.
I don't have anything to even approach the excitement of finding a gun that's so old no one's ever seen it and we can't get ammunition for it. Let me settle. So I propose. I got two things I want to bring up with you. You know me. I'm a numbers guy, and I'm afraid that'll put people to sleep after they had that thrilling ride. So let's talk about an armed citizen stopping mass murder in Chicago, of all places. What do you think?
Yeah, let's roll it out. Let's hear it.
Okay, so I'm going to take you there. Bob, don't get overexcited. This is a news story, and of all the people who cover it, it's the Chicago Sun-Times. They do not like gun owners. A lot. But here we are. We're walking down the street. It's after 10 p.m., and we see a man stop in front of an alleyway. He turns, draws a firearm, and starts shooting at 3 unarmed people who are standing in the alley. You're sitting there, you hardly believe it. You hear the victim scream, and the murderer keeps shooting. You have your Illinois firearms owner's identification card. That means you can legally touch a gun in a gun shop or at a shooting range. You own a gun. You have your Illinois concealed carry license, so you could be armed tonight, and you're carrying. You draw your firearm and you shoot the attacker. You hit him first in the elbow, he drops his gun. You hit him in the hip, and he drops to the ground. You call 911 and beg for help. Emergency medical services said that one of the victims of the murderer died at the scene because she was shot in the head. Fortunately, the other 2 victims and the murderer were taken to the hospital. They're expected to survive. You catch your breath and can give some kind of statement to the police. Fortunately for you, another witness saw the event, corroborates your story. You're neither charged, and fortunately for you, not named in the newspapers. Remember, so many of these are gang-related. You'd like to stay anonymous. Wow. I mean, in order to save lives in those few seconds, this guy started years ago. And you two know why, because you live and breathe this, but it takes 7 months to get your firearms owner's ID card. By law, it's supposed to be less than 30 days. It takes you another 5 months, not to get the training, but for the Illinois State Police to process your concealed carry license application.
Right. And then you've got to try to find a range that is somewhere open in that area, because they don't build them, or they're 2 hours away.
Right. Yeah, when we were in Chicago, it took us 2 hours to get to the range.
Yeah, 2 hours. 2 hours to go and to practice. And frankly, if you're going to make a shot where they're going to turn their gun on you, you need to be going and practicing. So it is a huge commitment for someone that lives in an anti-gun area, in an anti-gun state, to be armed and to be willing to put themselves at risk to protect people they don't know.
One thing I wondered is, so many urban mayors and politicians say, you don't need a car. And then you get to raise your hand and say, excuse me, I am one of the most law-abiding and nonviolent people you will ever meet. I am a person with a concealed carry license. You can't find people who are more deserving of carrying a firearm than I. But I have to have a car because you won't let me have a range that's serviced by public transportation. Yeah, but no, the media would never cover that.
But you also, I believe, you also won't allow me on public transportation.
On public transportation. Good point. You want to do this for a living. Thank you.
Man, imagine that. I mean, so it really is. There are so many moving pieces to this. So I don't know if you're a licensed concealed carrier, I don't know if they can carry on public transportation. That would be a good question to ask our listeners if they know, because that's not something I do know. Do you know?
We have a mutual friend named Gary who has negotiated that gauntlet. In many cases, it has to be in a lockbox. So it can't be accessible. They can rob your backpack that has a gun in it, but you can't have the gun accessible to defend yourself on public transportation.
Oh, so it can't be pants on, gun on. It has to be pants on, gun box on, gun lock on,
gun backpack on, right? But now,
great.
Pants with a safe built right in.
Get pants with a safe on your hip. So here, but you guys have done force on force training. There's another guy with a plastic gun, often an airsoft gun, maybe an elaborate pellet gun, sometimes one that can really hurt if they use an actual propellant to shoot this plastic wad at you. And in those circumstances, you and I are thinking as fast as we can. We know it's an exercise. We know it's coming. And this poor guy's walking down the street and boom, this is in his face. Your body can't go what places your mind hasn't imagined. You just, your mouth hangs open. You go, I wonder what this is.
Is this really happening? And you're trying to absorb all of it, and you can't absorb it fast enough.
So he'd done his mental homework. What would a mass murderer look like in front of me? And then what should I do? He was ready, because you can't think, but you can recognize when you should do things you've already practiced. Just like, you know, the brake lights appear right in front of you. Let's see, judging by the rate of closure. No, you don't have time to think. You have time to react.
React. Yeah, act and react of things that you have practiced, things that you have trained for, and things that you know exactly what your body should be doing. I tell people all the time, I started my house on, well, I didn't start my house on fire. My house started itself on fire. And you immediately forget how to think. You think you're smart. There is no ability to analyze a situation and to decide on the best course of action. You are, okay, I am a chicken with my head cut off. What am I going to do now? Run around, run around, run around. So it is amazing what happens to your system when you're put into a scenario like that, or a force on force, where you've got to absorb the stuff and decide what you're going to do and do it quickly without someone else responding or shooting back, or, you know, in a force on force class without them shooting, you know, pepper balls or rubber balls or something else at you.
One of the things I like about this entire situation, remember, we've got millions of new gun owners who have a gun on a shelf. This firearm was on the man's hip, under his clothes, under a shirt. He clears the garment, puts his hand on the gun, presents it, sees the sights. All of that was automatic. And those are skills our new gun owners have to pick up. When his arms came up, the sights were exactly where he expected them to be, because he'd practiced so many times. And he recognized the sights in low light. This wasn't a shooting range, well-lit daytime. This was, oh my gosh, an alleyway in Chicago at night. Practice.
Right. Yeah, practice, be prepared, understand, and have the tools that you need when you need them. So it's an amazing thing. And so this guy could have continued on to go harm other people.
Well, sometimes it's like in the cartoons where they have the good guy and the bad guy on your shoulder telling you, well, if I just go home and
right. Do I get involved? Don't
nothing
I?
happens.
Right.
And if I stick my nose into it, today could be the day that I get shot, or I shoot the wrong person, or
and you need to be confident enough in your skills to be able to know that he could turn his gun on you at any moment if you do not stop him when you have the advantage. So, Rob, when we come back, we're going to a commercial break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about your blogs, your writings, and where people can find the Self-Defense Gun Stories. So, folks, we're talking to Rob Morse of Self-Defense Gun Stories. You'll see him on AmmoLand, but we'll give you more advice as to other places that you can find him. We'll be right back.
honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seppacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough. Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Writing Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Writing Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com.
Okay, we are back, and with us we have Rob Morse and Rob Campbell. So look at that. It's like I got Robbing along there. So something. So too bad you guys don't go by Bob. Then the joke would work, bobbing along. But okay.
Exactly.
So, so there we go. So okay, so Rob, I know that you write, and you write for AmmoLand, you write for Clash Daily, you write for a couple other places, right? So where can people find your blog?
Start at slowfacts.wordpress.com. The byline is that fast opinions come and go. Here are the slow facts.
So slowfacts.wordpress.com. Got it.
Exactly.
So folks, it's Rob Morris from Self Defense Gun Stories, and you can catch his gun stories on, like the story that we just got done talking about, on just all kinds of different places, Stitcher and Spotify, and I don't know the names of all of the places that they are, but pretty much any place where you would go to find a podcast, you will find Rob Morris. Because Rob Morris, his podcast is in the top, 0.5% of all podcasts in the world?
That's what they tell me. I don't know how they came up with that number, but that's the number they gave me, Amanda.
It's a pretty good number. The format that Rob does is pretty amazing because Rob gathers the data and then he gets an instructor to work with him, and he's got a rotation of 6, 8 different instructors that you
Four men,
have.
4 women.
Okay, so 8. So 8 instructors.
The thing is, like when we went to that faster training and the live fire stuff with the
scenario
airsoft
training.
guns and stuff, they didn't tell you when you were done, and when like Rob's telling these stories, how does the guy know when he's done, and what's the
you don't know.
That's the thing. So you get to that spot where you're standing there with the gun, you're trying to dial 911, or you're trying to delegate some authority to get someone to do that. But how do you know when you're done? And if you've never done it before, it's all brand new and it's coming at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour. There's no coach to say, okay, stop here and we'll talk about it or do something.
Nope, you're still doing it until someone comes to take the emergency away. So whatever that is. So no matter what, you're calling somebody with a gun to come help you is really it. And
you're trying not to be the guy standing in public waving a gun around while people are dialing 911.
Right.
Exactly. I mean, recently we had a Good Samaritan shot because not only did they stop a mass murder, but then they picked up the mass murderer's gun. So when the police got there, the thing that they saw was a person holding the gun that had been described to be used as the threat. So that's
now.
Go ahead.
We exactly. We want to learn from our experiences, good and bad. But I think you might have been on that podcast with me, Amanda. There was a crazy person who was standing in the courtyard of his apartment building, shouting for everybody to come outside while he stood there with a rifle and was going to kill them. And one of the occupants of the apartment building didn't pull the blinds back much, peeked out, said, "This is crazy. He's shooting at people who come outside." And this ordinary guy had a hunting rifle. Probably hadn't shot it in a while. Except that day he had it. He shot it once. And the good news is the bad guy probably never saw it. And the only time the police saw it was when the police came in. The guy goes, "I know why he's laying on the ground. I've got it over here, back out of sight. You can come see me later." So
right. It's not a threat.
There are good ways and bad ways. We want to figure that out before it happens to us.
Exactly. And I mean, and there's a spot where when the emergency is over, you want to secure the firearm, but you don't secure it by carrying it around. So it needs to, you need to know where it's at, but you don't need to remember that the police are being called to come to the scene at 90 miles an hour with the fact that someone is shooting up all the private
with a minimal
citizens.
amount of
information
as to what's going on.
Right. So there's pieces to all of it, and it is when you're sure that it is over, you holster, you secure, you set down, use something so that it doesn't come upon and look like it's a threatening scene.
Amanda and Rob, there's this. Okay, new gun owners probably don't need to know this. We lie to you. When you first present your firearm, you reach in and take it out of your holster, and we're saying, make sure you keep a straight finger. We're telling you that's one of the most dangerous things you'll do. And right then it is, And then when you go to holster it, we say, okay, slow down, because this is really the most dangerous thing you'll do, is putting the gun back in the holster. What we can't tell you is if you ever have to use it and your adrenaline meter has just gone to 11, you have to be so careful. We see lots of store videos where the store clerk is standing there. He's just trying to get his emotions back under control before he puts his gun away, and he shoots the floor and he jumps up in the air. There's no audio, but you can really tell because all of a sudden he leaps up in the ground, up off the ground. Uh-huh. Your whole body is going numb from adrenaline right there. Be really careful.
Right. There's so many different moving pieces. Honestly, if you are a concealed carry holder or considering being a concealed carry holder, get training every year. And when you get training every year, you're going to go to a different instructor. I don't suggest that you go to the same instructor because you're going to only learn what they know. If you go to different instructors, you're going to absorb it differently. They're going to tell it to you differently. It's going to be aha kind of moment. And different ones are going to tell you different things that apply. And so as you start to put those things together, you will then have the start of the tools that you will need for self-defense. And I say the start because if you're involved in a self-defense shooting, you are going to wish that you had thousands of hours of training at the moment.
I go training at least once a week, sometimes 2 times a week. And it's there's times that I learn new things just from watching stuff on YouTube or other instructors doing something and then trying some of that stuff. So it's, you're never too old to learn new tricks.
No, and in this kind of stuff, you want the most amount of training you can get, and you want the most different people's life experiences click in different ways, and you want them to click with you. And so there's that. So, okay, you've told folks how to get to you. What's the latest story that you've written on? We've got about a minute and a half on AmmoLand. What have you been publishing, Rob?
The next thing I'm going to talk about is your backyard, Amanda. I've written it. It hasn't been published yet. I'm fascinated that 4 judges were able to disarm school students all across Ohio.
Yeah.
We have the FASTER program. You're familiar with it. It's faculty, administrator, and safety training for emergency response. After the murder at Sandy Hook, all these teachers, and we think of teachers as being politically liberal, but if you ask them, do you want to protect their kids, their response is as heartwarming as you would expect. If you ask them a careful question, hey, your school board is looking for someone who will help protect the kids and then treat the injured, would you be willing to participate? They reply at a rate that's 3 times higher than the national average for adults for concealed carry.
So when is this story coming out? Quick, because we've got 30 seconds.
It'll be out next week. AmmoLand.
It'll be out next week. AmmoLand. Okay. So Rob Morse, AmmoLand, check out that story because he is right. The teachers in your neighborhood will put their life on the line. They do every day. They are willing to give their life for your children, not just their children. And so there's a thing that's going on in Ohio that we've got to change because it's a crock of cheese.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
was right. Standing in the station, ready to step inside. All you can see, something that you do, was red as the future was waiting for you. Train rolls in the station. You cannot make a move. Something inside you gives you heat, and then you know it's true. Is the fog lifting, or is it in your mind? You stand frozen as time unwinds. You can lay on the platform. You can weep and moan. Or you can reach your hand up and stop standing alone. Let them take your hand as you lift your face. Rise and take your place.
Shooter standby.
You hit the radio bullseye. And the home for everything Second Amendment, concealed carry, the latest gear, reciprocity, legislation, the right to self-protection, and it shall not be infringed. This is Eye on the Target Radio with your hosts, Rob and Amanda.
Well, let's talk about New Jersey. The state of New Jersey is a civil rights wasteland where an unconstitutional legal standard called justifiable need keeps ordinary citizens from exercising their right to bear arms. New Jersey spits in the eye of freedom, ignores the Bill of Rights and the Heller decision. New Jersey's anti-gun politics is like a spreading cancer. The Coalition for New Jersey Firearms Owners, it's a tax-exempt, not-for-profit, has a goal to defeat the verbiage of justifiable need, reverse the course on all anti-gun freedoms, and reverse the course on all anti-freedom gun laws. Let's flip those words around. And render aid to other jurisdictions by fulfilling Supreme Court-bound litigation. CNJFO is a beacon of freedom. They are enthusiastic patriots behind the Iron Curtain of New Jersey. Support the Coalition of New Jersey Firearms Owners today. Protect all of our rights and return freedom to the Garden State. To donate or learn more, go to www.cnjfo.com. Man, you have heard the CNJFO folks on our show.
It's funny that in the last 50 to 80 years, they haven't been able to find honest politicians or judges that would look at some of that stuff and say, we don't think this is how it's going to happen.
I think they're all ganged up on is kind of what that is, but there you go. So you want to talk about car arms a little bit? Because we're starting to put the plans together to go see the Tommy Gun Warehouse.
Right. I think this is the year we're getting the silver-plated
Tommy gun with the tiger stripes.
With the 100-round drum magazine. As a matter of fact, we were at how much was that magazine? There was a 100-round drum magazine at the gun show yesterday. It was $16,000, I believe.
Maybe everything I looked at was between $15,000 and $16,500.
Yeah, they had a lot of stuff that was $6,500, but this one particular magazine, I don't know if it was
Colt for $16,000.
Yeah, I don't know if it was actually some famous gangsters or if it was just a certain manufacturer that was made shallow.
I don't know enough about them.
But you can go to Car Arms and buy a new one today, and then down the road, that collector value, I'm sure it'd be in there because not everybody has one, right? It's not how many 100-round drums do you have right now? So.
And I've been going to the gym. Pretty soon I'll be able to hold that rifle up with that 100-round drum. And if I get an extra job, I may be able to buy ammo for that 100-round drum. Yeah.
Just think, if you had 2 drums, it would be 4 boxes of shells you're carrying around with the gun. You need that workout.
I do. I need to go to the gym. That would be.
But yeah, you can get 1911 style pistols. Magnum Research also makes the biggest, finest revolver.
When we walked around the gun show, I saw a lot of the car pistols, the concealed carry size pistols, in different people's. The
small polymer framed ones, the CWs, and those are real popular because they're small and thin and dependable, and
they're extremely thin for the 9mm size that they are. Yeah.
Right, and the small 380 is even smaller yet. So there's something to fit everybody's carry style, I guess you.
There is that. So so what are we talking about next?
Well, next week, starting next week, there's 2 brothers that are they're from Georgia, but they are Ohio State University pistol
they've
team
got an
members.
Ohio connection. Got it.
And they are going to Tokyo to shoot in the Olympics in the 25-meter rapid fire pistol thing. I'm sure you won't see this on TV.
You will not. Isn't that the crazy part? There's a variety of different shooting events in the Olympics, and I don't believe we get to see them.
Well, it's funny that the 2 guys that we're sending, Henry and Jackson Leverett, are brothers and 17 months apart in age, and they both go to the same college and everything. So.
Well, they say that when you train with somebody, they make you better and you make them better. And we know Tracy and Laney Barnes, who were twins, who did the same thing, that they went to the Olympics together because they trained together, and they were so extremely successful. Everything is competitive. If you
I can eat more, I can pee farther off the porch. Everything about it.
They're like girls. I'm not sure. I'm not sure that the porch has anything to do with that. But we'll just go there.
How competitive you are.
I have seen them do the practicing shooting, like the Texas Star riding a unicycle. right? so none of us can shoot the Texas Star just standing there.
And definitely hard riding a unicycle with a loaded pistol.
Well, let's try to ride the unicycle without the loaded pistol. Then you try to shoot the Texas Star on solid ground, and then when you put the Texas Star on the unicycle, it's a combo. Yeah.
So that's you can get a new timing gun from Car, and the prices are variable depending on which model you want. They have some that are World War II style. They have some that are the early Roaring 20s gangster style.
Oh yeah, I love them.
So there's a lot of different variations, and some of the original Tommy guns are quite pricey right now. Somebody just posted on TV that they have a friend has one, and it's over $30,000. So.
Yeah, I can see that. So, let's talk.
Investment in your future, I think.
Let's talk for just a second about David Chipman, because the David Chipman confirmation, and he is the nominee.
The sourpuss guy that they're trying to get to be in charge of the ATF.
Joe Biden's nominee for the ATF. And so right now, they have not yet scheduled the confirmation vote for Mr. Chipman. And they are assessing whether they have enough support.
Well, I'm seeing some of the politicians are saying, "Well, I'm gonna vote for Chipman," and all of a sudden now they're not sure they're going to be able to keep their seat in their district.
Right, and so now they're like backing up. And then there's others who are saying, "I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do," or "I'm not going to commit." And so there's a whole stack of them that are not going to commit. So the Senate Majority Whip, Dick Durbin, a Democrat from Illinois, he's told reporters that he still needs to see where 3 or 4 of his colleagues stand on the nomination. So here's the thing. Dick Durbin can't hardly identify the truth if it came up and bit him in the biscuit. We'll just say. So if he says he needs 3 or 4 colleagues, there was another article that came out that immediately got modified that said that it was like 8 or 9
and
that have not
Durbin's whole claim to why Chicago is having so much gun crime is because there's too many guns on the street.
There's too many guns.
It's nothing to do with the fact that they don't do anything to the criminal when they catch them or anything.
So that they have a huge issue with gangs in Chicago. They've disarmed the populace, as Rob Morse said in the earlier hour. There is you can't hardly get a license. You can't hardly get a Ford card. You can't hardly go to the range. So there's all of those kind of things. I've had conversations with Dick Durbin in person. We'll just say he's not a fan of Amanda Suffolk, and he's pretty vocal about that lack of fandom. And so he told me that the real issue is that the criminals are getting their guns because of lax gun laws, gun show loopholes in other states. So it has nothing to do with crime or lying or theft or any of those kinds of things.
You watch this stuff and the national news is saying, "Oh, well, we need more gun laws," but then locally, I mean, here's the one: Arizona governor, he signs a bill to help block frivolous anti-gun lawsuits. So he's basically propping up the PLCAA.
Yeah, the Protection of Law, and the PLCAA is a federal law that's called the Protection in Lawful Commerce in Arms Act, and it was designed to stop frivolous lawsuits.
Right. So he's adding some more protections to even
Arizona
boost
on top
that
of
up
that.
of that.
Yeah.
So there's some other states, Ohio here, we have preemption law. So we only have whatever law the state as a whole has instead of each city having different ones. I did see one of the states just recently gave up their preemption. I don't see how that was a good idea, but we'll
was
see.
that Colorado?
I was thinking it was like Wisconsin, or not Wisconsin, Wyoming or Colorado, but I didn't know exactly which one.
I kind of think it was, and it was like, I'm not sure why. But
here's the Wisconsin Supreme Court. They're saying that a guy says he got a felony, a nonviolent felony for not paying his child support. And so then 10 years later, he decided he wants to get a gun. Well, they're saying he can't have a gun because
he was a deadbeat dad. And so they're going to block his ability to have a firearm.
So it's good that they're starting to actually put some teeth into the law that we already have on the books.
But the Wisconsin Supreme Court says that because he got the felony, he's banned from owning a firearm. So there's things. Maybe he needs to get it expunged. Maybe he needs to pay his child support. But okay, enough on that. We'll be right back after this.
Honest citizens like you protect themselves every day. We talk about it every week on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Were these gun owners lucky, or did they have a plan? How should we defend the people we love? We discuss recent examples on the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. Put us in your pocket.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to davenportguns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Hi, this is Paul Lathrop from the Polite Society podcast. I wanted to let you know that the show you're listening to is a proud member of the Self-Defense Radio Network. You can check out all the shows on the network by going to selfdefenseradio.net or tune in for more on Self-Defense Mondays on Karma Radio, krmaradio.com.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Suffolk and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl/mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
So we are back, and so it's pretty interesting, some of the things that have hit the news. But did you hear that the 4th District Circuit Court has ruled that 18 to 20-year-olds can buy handguns?
So can they go right now and buy a handgun?
In the 4th District, yes. So that would be West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Maryland, and DC. So here's how the court system works.
So if you're from out of that area, you have to sue on your own then.
You have to sue on your own. So right now there is case law. So you have to kind of look at it like it's like a tree. So the 4th district encompasses that area and makes case law for that area, sort of like the Supreme Court encompasses the entire United States and makes case law for that. So the 4th district, a 3-judge panel of the United States Court of Appeal for the 4th Circuit Court on Tuesday ruled that 18 to 20-year-olds have the same Second Amendment right to purchase a handgun as older Americans do. So now you got to look at this. There's a couple different things that could potentially happen. So that means the government lost, and the cases, the people in the cases won, and so the people in the states won. So now, where the state is, so it's actually from the case was against the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives, BATFE. So the BATF has a choice. They can either take their loss in the 4th district and leave it alone, or they can challenge them to go to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court can then accept it, or so they can grant cert, or they can ignore it.
In the long term, a 5-year-old could buy a gun possibly if it goes to the Supreme Court, because the Second Amendment doesn't necessarily grant an age.
So it doesn't, but here's what the judge had to say in doing it. So they sort of did grant an age within it. So Judge Richardson was one of the judges on this 3-judge panel, and he says, when does a constitutional right vest? At 18 or at 21? At 16 or at 25? Why not 13? Maybe 33? In the law, a line must sometimes be drawn, but there must also be reasons why constitutional rights cannot be enjoyed until a certain age. Our nation's most cherished constitutional rights vest no later than 18. And the Second Amendment's right to keep and bear arms is now different. And that's what he uses as justification. So in saying that because other things go to 18, he would be good with 18 is kind of where he's drawing that line, right? The interesting part is, based on that case, any 18-year-old who is caught over drinking and drinking something that they're not allowed to, because there's the 18 to 21-year-old, can, I'm an engineer, not a lawyer. In my non-legal, I stayed at Holiday Inn Express some time ago.
So now instead of having low beer, they can have...
well, I don't think they have low beer and high beer anymore.
But either way, they could have instead of one thing, they can have whatever is available.
Liquor, right? So because it's beer versus hard liquor, I think. I don't know. Or they can't drink at all.
We're not.
I'm way past 21. We'll just say. I don't know. But I would think that someone could bring a case using this case law that was a gun-related case law, and that statement, I'm feeling something like Antonin Scalia here,
but
putting the bigger
is,
picture
looking
together.
at it too. There's reasons why a 13-year-old needs a gun, and there's reasons in history they can show you plenty of 9 and 10-year-olds who went to war during the Revolution and the Civil War, that they could also have used a gun. So why is it that they draw the line?
Why are they
here?
drawing the line? So let's take it to the 18, and then let's challenge it
again. If you grow
again.
a 9-year-old that you cannot trust, it's your fault. Let's put it that way.
Got it. Okay. So
if you grow a 13-year-old that you cannot trust with the car or something, it's your fault. I mean, by then they should know right from wrong and be able to navigate that correctly, I would think.
I also, but I'm just going to say that let's take this step by step by step.
I'm going to say my kid's 31, so he's long past all the stuff that he should have learned.
And your kid was a little Dickens when he was 13. I'm just going to say that you can sit here now and say that because he's 31, but he was a hellion, if I can.
He didn't break any law that I would not have broken in the same time.
Okay. Now, take that caveat out, that I would not have broken.
So some of it is, if you don't like the law, maybe you need to work to change it.
I'm okay with working to change it. I am not okay with ignoring it. So there's a spot where you obey the law and lobby to change it. That is what you do. So if you want to go dig up someone that is 9 years old who has cause so that you can take this to court.
Because right now it says if you're 9 years old and you have a job that needs a gun, your employer is to issue you one.
Right. Well, but I think that
it doesn't have any rules on how little that you got to be for that either.
I think that the employment laws won't let you have a 9-year-old that has a job.
It's hard to say, depending on what
So you're going to have to scoop up a couple other laws in Rob's breaking into the legal field. I think he's going to have to attend law school for a little while before we get anywhere with this. But stay tuned, folks.
I'll shake things up, though.
Stay tuned, folks. I would believe that his law school teachers will be jettisoning him from the ship. But that would just be my personal opinion, because I just don't think that this is.
It'll make for some interesting debates, anyhow.
Ooh, boy, howdy. Will.
Okay, here's a guy who says that he's no longer a good Samaritan. It's all about him. If you happen to be on the wrong side of what's going on around him, it's on you. So if you need a first aid kit, if you need a police officer, whatever, you better get one on your own, because he is past the stage of caring.
Because
he drew the line, me and my friends and family, and if you're on the outs, you don't exist in my world.
So there, and there's, I read this article, and it is an interesting statement that he took, an interesting stand that he has. And when we come back from break, let's dig into this a little bit, because I think that he's got some merit, he's got some points, and he's saying, well, there's so much that he's saying that we can't cover it in 10 seconds. So when we come back, we're going to talk about, is the Good Samaritan dead or not?
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Had a dirty day? Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps, made from fresh goat's milk and organic oils that detoxify, clean, and restore moisture to skin, will get you ready for your next adventure. These unique soaps are handcrafted in the Blue Ridge Mountains and shipped to anywhere in the U.S. Visit SillyBillyGoatFarm.com for their full line of Grunt Goat Tactical Soaps. That's SillyBillyGoatFarm.com. Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl / mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that get you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Shotgun with Charlie.
I'm Charlie Cook from Riding Shotgun with Charlie. Conversations in the car about gun safety, freedoms, and even a few laughs. Imagine you're in the back seat listening to an intimate chat with me and my passengers as we drive all around the country. Listen, watch, and subscribe to the Riding Shotgun with Charlie YouTube channel and podcast.
This is Dan Perkins with your songs and stories for soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day. If you're a veteran with a disability, are you interested in a program that could give you a free home? Homes for Our Troops is a privately funded 501c3 nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post-9/11 veterans to enable them to rebuild their lives. These homes restore some of the freedom and independence our veterans sacrificed while defending our country and enable them to focus on their family and recovery. Since its inception in 2004, nearly 90 cents of every dollar has gone directly to the program to serve veterans. HFOT builds these homes where the veterans choose to live and continues its relationship with the veterans after the home delivery to assist them in rebuilding their lives. For more information, go to their website, www.hfotusa.org, and see if you can qualify for the home of your dreams. This has been your Songs and Stories for Soldiers, Veterans Tip of the Day.
So we're going to talk about this. Is the Good Samaritan dead? And this writer, his point is the fact that there is now so many internet jockeys, social justice warriors. So his word is that it is a butthurt internet influencer mob that is coming after people who do something in the name of trying to help and
Right.
trying to step in to help someone, and then someone else takes
And they
offense
try
at
to
it.
figure out what you did wrong and call you a racist or why you.
They call you names. They roll out your address. They
Yep.
they do things. I mean, we're seeing so many
So
times.
it's funny. His thing is like, officially you can bleed to death from an accident. I be having a heart attack, being raped, abused, run over, shot, stabbed, beat to a pulp, etc. And you will not get 1 ounce of help from me because I will be turning around and seeking a more peaceful environment.
So yeah, so he has gotten from the incidents and the opinions that come from those incidents that they should have, you shouldn't use your gun to defend someone else. Maybe you should have tased them. Maybe you should have not gotten involved. Maybe you should have. So all of these internet warriors who have opinions,
Right.
and they're not there, that is just making it to where.
To think about ahead of time, the guy said he carried 2.
So yeah, so 2 trauma kits,
Yep,
and so
and everything. So he's taken some training to learn how to use all that
Stop the
stuff.
bleed
So
and-
he's got a couple of years of advanced training that we have lost just because we allow people to.
I don't
point fingers.
disagree with him. I mean, you're watching right now. There are so many times when someone else is a police officer is faced with someone with a knife. A police officer is faced with someone with a gun. a private citizen is faced with a decision of someone else who is shooting or killing multiple people. And then later people are like, well, I'm not anti-police, but I really think that they could have done this or they could have done that. Where's your training?
When you got a half hour to sit and watch a video in the safety of your own home is one thing, but when you're in the middle of the crowd where they're swinging the machete, it takes some of that time out of your discussion.
So in this whole Good Samaritan thing, it's really training the Good Samaritans not to help, not to do something.
We should train the youth of today to actually follow the rules that we have set forth in society.
I don't know that it's just the youth. Think
they all started as a youth, and we have abandoned them since
during the training process
from
of
the
our youth.
the 70s, say, till now.
You're not the boss of me, and you can't tell me what to do.
They've lost that iron fist of rule, and so they've been allowed to be a free thinker. And today, that free thinker just gets you killed is all. So you need to think about what
are societal
if you know what the rules of the game are, you can usually play the game longer than if you don't know the rules and you do something stupid.
And you don't care to know the rules. No, I really do. I get where he's coming from. I mean, how many people have stepped in to provide first aid? I mean, there's a law that says you provide first aid, they can't sue you. Well, if you provide your firearm to defend their life, they can. You provide, there's so many levels of they have a decision or can make a decision as to what you should have done from the comfort and convenience of their own home, taking the time while they're kicked back on their Barca lounge.
Okay, going back to some of the training stuff, there's an article I seen that says that we're doing training, but are we doing the right training or are we doing wrong training? Right. And some of the wrong training is the fact that, everybody wants to be the fastest gun, so they practice this their quick draw, but in reality, you don't need the quick draw in your day-to-day life.
You need to be able to draw promptly, but you don't have to have a 1 second draw.
So that's the thing. They're saying fast reloads and quick draw are not necessarily necessary. Although if you're going to reload, doing it expediently helps you, and on a lot, you get to where you're proficient at it, and you're able to do it without too trouble. But they're saying learning to reholster and first shot placement during that not so fast draw are the two more particular.
No,
they said they watched thousands of videos.
You can reholster, but the real issue is the reholster speedily. You've got time to reholster. It doesn't have to be in a 1 second reholster also.
Right, but you just need some people can't. They have to just take the holster off, put the gun back in. They can't reholster while they're running.
If that's the case and you can't reholster while that's happening, then you better shove your gun in your pocket, because there are times when you do not have to have that. You do not, cannot have.
If you have the gun in your hand, it tends to draw fire, and so by putting a gun away, it frees up that instant response of shooting at you.
Correct.
And then you can go from there. But if you got a holster that collapses or doesn't allow you to reholster, maybe you should rethink your holster thing. Right. But when they watch people a lot of times, they tend to have plenty of time to draw their gun out, and they're usually, they say they're using something as cover, whether it's the rack of Twinkies, the cash register, or someone else that's in front of them. And so they have plenty of time for the draw, but it's making sure that when you come in the position to make that shot, that your sight picture's good and you hit what you're shooting at, instead of I shot fast, but I didn't hit anything while I was doing that.
Well, so the practice range time, practicing so that you can get your gun, get it in action, and hit what you're aiming at is really the critical thing.
A lot of times we test a lot of pistols because Mike tends to buy a lot of pistols.
Because we do.
And so he'll buy like left-handed holsters for him, but I don't have a holster. So what I tend to do is I hold the pistol in my left hand, and then I'll just draw from there. So when it's time to go, when the buzzer goes off, I'll just draw from one hand, and so I don't move this hand. I just use it like a holster.
Use it as the holster for your.
And it works pretty good, but it gives you an opportunity to try different things without coming out of a holster where you're going to shoot yourself or something. Also, so
interesting.
But thinking about some of that stuff and the fact that it's getting more and more that when you get up in the morning, you should have your gun in your pocket. As instead of people every day you see them, I carry it when I'm only going to certain parts of town, or
I'll carry it tomorrow, but I'm not carrying it today.
Right, or it's in the car, or it's in my bag under 20 pounds of other stuff. So if you need to get to it, how long it take you to unzip your bag and dig through all of your other things and figure out where your gun's at, and then is it oriented in the correct direction that you could get to it, or
there's all of those things. So, I agree. I think that I am neutral on purse carry. And there are so many people who are vehemently opposed to purse carry. And the majority of those who are vehemently opposed to purse carry weren't born with the same equipment that I am. Right? So I don't think that if
first
you're
thing
not
someone's
carrying,
going to steal is your purse.
Okay.
But that's saying I carry a bag that I keep my stuff in.
You do carry like a man purse or a briefcase or a shoulder bag or a possible bag or a satchel or some masculine, manly name.
Sometimes I have my gun on me, but sometimes if it's not convenient to have the gun, I got to put it on and take it off 2 or 3 times during the day. It's easier for me to carry this bag, and that way then I got it. I don't have it depending on where I'm going into, and so then it's your guess as to whether I got it in my pocket or I got it in my bag.
There's a little bit of all of that, but so I believe that there's a lot of circumstances, and women's clothing is a difficult thing about where you carry and how you carry, and how do you. Men, when you guys buy pants, the rise of your pants are the same.
Well, men buy pants like, these fit good, so let's buy 20 pairs of them, and then I don't have to worry about. So
every time I buy a pair of pants, the rise of my pants ranges. It could range 3 inches different in height, which means that my gun sits tilted in, tilted out, tilted.
And look for the tag, and it's got a little number on there, and you can just order your pants right off the internet. So they're all the same.
The women's pants are kind of like raincoats. There's spring colors for this year and spring colors for next year. They don't make the same pants year after year.
Well, don't buy colored pants. Just buy jeans, and that way then
they don't make the same jeans year after year. The styles change.
Apparently, you'll have to rectify that and start your own line of clothing.
Because I can't wear boy pants because they don't have I have a shape more so than round.
Well, they got old man pants now with a big can on them, so they'll fit everybody.
Old man
stretchy
pants.
Too.
Oh, stretchy with a big can. We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Janelle Westrom, owner of Davenport Guns and Davenport Shooting Club. At Davenport Guns, we do so much more than sell firearms. We advocate for increased personal safety and security, not just for you, but your whole family and community. Go to DavenportGuns.com to see our online inventory and browse videos, articles, and things we just find entertaining. Sign up for our newsletter to learn more.
This is Cheryl Todd of Gun Freedom Radio, and I am proud to join Amanda Seppacool and all the 50 women, one from each state, in our grassroots efforts to protect the Second Amendment as delegates of the DC Project. Grassroots organizations like the DC Project run on donations, so please consider donating to our GoFundMe/DC Project to keep the promise of freedom alive.
Ladies, ever wish you could find a brand that understood the difference between feminine and functional? A brand that didn't make you choose between looking good and looking tough? Check out offhandgear.com, a brand designed by a gun girl /mom that closed the gap to give you feminine, durable, functional gear. Offhandgear.com, the brand that gets you.
We all know rust is bad. To help keep rust from forming on your firearms, tools, and other ferrous-based items, you want to have Rust is Bad in your gun-safe toolbox and anywhere you want to be rust-free. Rust is Bad bolsters and G-strings deposit small, safe particles that coat your rust-vulnerable items. Save your valuable items with Rust is Bad. Go to www.eyeonthetargetradio.com and follow the link for more information. That's www.eyeonthetargetradio.com for Rust is Bad.
Okay, you ask yourself, who is this Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition, and what do they do? Realize Firearms Awareness Coalition is a not-for-profit group based in Portage County, registered as a 501c3, and organized to educate about the historical intent of the Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States of America, to share knowledge, to enable citizens to accurately relate and defend aspects of the U.S. Constitution, to enhance public awareness and support for responsible gun ownership, and to emphasize firearms education for women who facilitate the transmittal of constitutional awareness and gun ownership to succeeding generations. How do they intend to do that? By talking to you all and having you talk back, by hosting educational summits and events. So tune in, listen, and participate. RealizeFAC.com.
Your front door, your car, your gun. Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different, and the best way to help prevent accidents, misuse, and theft. Cable locks help keep firearms secured. Learn how to get a free firearm safety kit. Visit projectchildsafe.org. If you have a firearm, own it, respect it, and secure it. Brought to you by the National Shooting Sports Foundation and the Bureau of Justice Assistance.
Grab your friends and head to Georgia to train with the Complete Combatant. The Complete Combatant offers a unique approach to self-defense training, layering the first signs of danger, lethal versus non-lethal decisions, and even surviving the aftermath. They offer premier firearms training with a range master certified instructor and host the top minds in our industry. See the courses offered on thecompletecombatant.com. That's thecompletecombatant.com.
Okay, so we're going to do this just kind of as a hodgepodge of news stories because we've got a bunch of just little stories sitting here. So, U.S. Senator Jerry Moran from Kansas on July 15th released the following statement regarding David Chipman. And I thought it read really well. Mr. Chipman has an extensive track record of pushing a radical agenda as a paid lobbyist and making inflammatory public statements about law-abiding gun owners. Additionally, his anti-gun agenda would undermine congressional authority and infringe on Kansas's Second Amendment rights. So remember, Jerry Moran is from Kansas. Mr. Chipman's ability to objectively lead the agency charged with regulating firearms has been questioned at every turn. He is the wrong choice to lead the ATF for Americans, and I will firmly oppose his nomination. That is U.S. Senator Jerry Moran from Kansas. So I am like, rah, 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 dude. I am with you 100%.
Well, a year ago, remember the kid was in school and on his camera,
on the back wall,
there was a BB gun or something, and
they could see
moved it. He moved it or something to get it out of the way, and they threw him out of school.
They suspended him because they said that his bedroom or whatever it
violated the district's weapons policy, and they barred him from attending class, even online, for several weeks. Right. Then there was another boy named Tommy Brown. He basically got the same for the same reason. An accidental brief display of a BB gun, and so both families ended up suing, and the school settled out of court. The board agreed to pay Harrison's family $92,500 and Brown's family $72,500, and then they also changed the disciplinary record on both students to say they were suspended for disruptive conduct, removing any reference to weapons. So There's some of your tax money at work, folks.
Yeah, where's the money going? The school board. Because, I mean, frankly, when the school board says that our classroom envelops your house because our camera is there, what kind of bunk is that? I mean, back to it's a crock of cheese, right? There is that. So I don't know if I think we talked about it once. I want to talk about it again. I'm going to talk about it again. I'm going to talk about it again until you are all up to speed on the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Corlett, which is the next Second Amendment Supreme Court case that is coming up. So the Supreme Court has granted cert, and so they are willing to consider it and to hear testimony. And so it will happen this fall. And when it does, the question that is going to be answered is whether the state's denial, which is New York, whether the state's denial of petitioners' applications for concealed carry licenses for self-defense, whether that violates the Second Amendment or not. So denying a concealed carry, does that violate the Second Amendment? That is a case that is going to the Supreme Court. So if they hear it in the fall, then they will make their decision. It's like 6 months after they hear it before they make their final decisions. It took so long for Heller to go through, and Heller's decision was whether we had the right to have a firearm in our house. This is going to address whether you have the right to have a firearm for self-defense and the licensing thereof.
They had that case was going through a year or so ago, and it finally got thrown out of court at the thing. So
the one that they said was moot. So they said that there was no standing, there was no basis. So all of our listeners are learning the legal terms of moot, which is that if the loser of the lawsuit, or the one who thinks that they're losing, goes and quick changes their laws, then the other guy doesn't have standing anymore, because guess what? That's not the law anymore. You lose.
So it's funny when you watch the news in the morning, the Democrats are saying it's the Republicans who are defunding the police. And the police but when you're listening to them, it's the Democrats who keep saying defund the police. So I don't think the American people are getting the message that they're supposed to blame it on the Republicans.
Right.
But there's an article here saying that there's resignations are up, retirements are up. There's a decrease in hiring rates due to the fact that they don't have enough officers applying for the police academies and stuff.
This came from the Daily Wire, and so thousands of cops resign amid crime waves.
Another thing that I'm seeing in the news, and I don't know if everybody they have the Capitol Police. You've heard of them from D.C.
D.C. are now expanding outside
of D.C. and putting satellite offices.
Why do they need a satellite office if their job is to protect the Capitol?
Right, and they're too. They don't answer to anybody but Congress, not to local law enforcement, not to the state.
Right. So why are states allowing the Capitol Police to have a satellite office in their state?
This looks a lot like some of the secret police the Germans were putting out during the 30s.
It does not. Yeah, that really
Pay attention, folks. Possibly could be something. Elmer Fudd is getting his gun back. They originally took his gun and were going to give him a sigh because a razor-sharp blade is far less damaging to young psyche than...
So we're gonna give him the ability to lop the duck's head off, but we're not allowed to shoot his bill to the backside of his head.
All right. So, but apparently they're going to give him his gun back now. So you'll get to see Saturday morning Yosemite Sam and
Elmer Fudd gets. I love the headline. Elmer Fudd gets his gun back. So you just. Yay! That's a win for the right side. It really is. Hey, I got a question for you. I saw this on the news today, and it was one of the 3-lettered news agencies. When a president is no longer a president, they still are called president, right? They are president forever.
They call him Jimmy Carter president still,
Carter.
And Bill Clinton is still
President Clinton. This morning on the news, and it's the one that starts with the N. Not that I'm naming it, but the one that starts with an N, that's 3 letters, calls him Mr. Trump and President Obama. Does that not have a ring to it that just says that we have polarizing news in the politics? There's a spot where once they are president, they've earned that right, and that's how they should be talked about and treated.
Apparently, people need to just stop watching that stuff because it's not based in reality anyhow. So.
Well, I had to get up and go push the button because I was done. Either that or Elmer Fudd and I were going to get his gun back, and the TV was not going to survive the encounter.
Well, the other day it was funny. We met a guy at the bar when we were having a sandwich,
right?
And he doesn't have a television because he threw it in the neighbor's yard. He said,
"Yes." He says I got so angry with the news that I took my TV and the TV box, the cable box, and I threw it all into the neighbor's yard.
And then we got to talking about the NRA, and then he started to fly to
off
pieces about that too. Being an old line Neil Knox faction guy, he wasn't too happy with the way things are going with the NRA. So, but pay attention. Things have got to get better. They can't get much worse. Let's put it this way.
But it was a truly interesting conversation. And he calmed down a lot when Rob said, "Well, we've had dinner with Jeff Knox and talked." And he's like, "Oh, not that we're name dropping, but it was an interesting." I'm sure that the bartender, because the restaurant was so packed, we're sitting at the bar. I'm sure the bartender was like, "I can't even believe this conversation." So,
and the hamburgers were fabulous too.
They really were. Everything about that experience was great. But when the guy says that I took my TV and I threw it in the neighbor's yard, so we'll talk to you next week.